Hey everyone. Hello. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. I see some of you have already commented ahead. Very beautiful and happy New Year to you. I hope it is off to a good start. Hello from Toronto, Mexico, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Carolina, NYC, and all places in between. I'm so glad that you are here with me today. And I really hope that the start of your new year is being really, really good to you. Today, we are going to go into a little bit about tarot numerology and what that means for you, and how you can use it to your advantage and how to get the energy to work with you and for you. Hey, Christina. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to you all. Um, Before I get into the nitty gritty, I've got a lot of things going on, both in person and online, that I want you guys to know about. And if any of this is interesting to you, you can go to kind of my main YouTube page, and there should be a link tree in my bio, as they all say, and it will take you right to all of these things. But for this month and next month, I have what I call everything but the kitchen sink sessions. That's 90 minutes. And this year, I've done something really unique that I haven't quite done in this way before, which is I am doing a reading looking at all the chakric energies for you for this year. What does your root chakra want you to know? How do we be supportive of it? How do we be supportive of the emotional energy of your heart chakra and also your third eye and how you're connecting to spirit? They are only available for the first 2 months every year, and they're 90 minutes, and they are I just stuff them. I stuff them with all the things I want to do that are fun for me to do, and you get to also have fun with me. So that's going on. Let's see here. Also this month, next Friday, I'm going to be doing a tarot workshop and a live workshop next Friday evening in Cary, North Carolina. Link in my bio to register. I think we only have a few seats left. This is a relaxed, like bring a bottle of wine. We're just going to have a lot of fun and play. So I hope you can make it. And then I think the Thursday after, the 16th, I'm going to be doing a free event talking about tarot history in general and a little bit of tarot fun, maybe some more numerology like today, at the library, because it's really important to support our local libraries. I believe that wholeheartedly. And my local library has been so kind to me. Finally, we have the Tarot Association of the British Isles. This is one of my favorite tarot organizations. It's all completely nonprofit. It's all volunteer run, people who just love tarot. So you don't have to be British or live in the British Isles to join. And it's like, it comes to something around like $22 a year. It's like the bang for your buck is unlike anywhere else. And if you are a member, you get to do the midwinter conference for free. And I will be talking about mediumship and tarot and the histories and getting into some fun tarot mediumship practices. So, and that's free for you if you are a member. It's like the best deal in town. Highly recommend that. If you love reading tarot, they have forums, they have where you can do a tarot reading and get feedback. There's a pro section, a lot going on with Tabby. All of these things, again, are on my link in my bio link, the link tree. All these things should be there. So if any of this is of interest for you, please come join and play with us. So that's basically the gist of what I need to kind of tell you about before we get into today's topic. Hey everybody, so glad that you're all here. Oh my gosh, look at all my friends. Oh, it's so wonderful to see you all. Okay, so let's talk about today's topic. And if you're live, it's great if you tune in later, for those of you who tune in later, but if you're live, we're going to be able to do your tarot numerology in real time, and then you'll get a mini reading from it. So if you're not here, I don't know if I'm going to go through all the cards, or we'll have time to, but hopefully yours will come up in the live session. So tarot numerology. So numerology is an old practice where we align the energy, the numerical energy, to either ourselves or the world around us. And in traditional tarot numerology, it goes through just the single digits. So traditional traditional numerology is 1 through 9, and that's it. But tarot numerology is following the major arcana. So basically, it's 0 and 1 all the way up to 21. So that makes it a little bit of a more extensive system. And but we use numerology principles. So for this year, we are in globally a 2025 year. And so when I do the tarot numerology just of the global year of 2025, what you do is you take out and you add all of the integers separately and come up to a number. And if the number is bigger than 21, you'll then add those two numbers. Don't worry about it if you're like, what? Like, we'll get to it in a second. But for this year, it's 2025. So you want to add 2 plus 2 plus 5. What does that get you? It gets you a 9. So this year's global tarot numerology is the 9, the Hermit. So what the heck does that mean, right? Like it's I don't know. Well, the hermit is in traditional numerology, 9 is considered the most like spiritual number. It is the number where people go deep, where people aren't going to be the most popular people or most famous people. They're going to be the people for whom it's like the kung fu master on the mountain, that the only people that can have access to the kung fu master on the mountain are the people that have earned right of access. And the hermit is the hermit not because like he's all alone and no one wants to be his friend. The hermit is the hermit because he needs the silence in order to hear God more closely or to work on his craft more closely. So it is a energy of non-frivolity, like everything that you do or you're wanting to stretch in are ways to build your spiritual life and your spiritual craft or to deepen a craft that you have. So some of you will have a 9 this year, so this applies to you. But what does this mean in a global way? Well, there have been, especially in the West, there have been, and I'm seeing it with all of my clients, like everyone is struggling with friendships. Everyone is struggling with finding their tribe or finding good friends that they feel connected with. And this is a trend that's going to continue. It was worsened by the pandemic, but us being in a hermit year is really still in that energy a little bit. But it's not about being alone, but about really picking and choosing the kind of people that you want in your life and allowing yourself the time to be more alone if it takes longer to find your people rather than filling it with, what is it? The Merryweather friends, like, that are only there for the good times, that are not there when the rubber meets the road. So that's part of the hermit. The hermit globally is often a swing towards more, for some people, more of a conservative religious practice, or for others, a more internal meditative practice. So you'll find both more mystics in a 9 year, as well as more conservative, traditional religious energies in a 9 year. In a 9 year as well, it's often around a period of study and scholarship. So I am imagining that it probably won't be in this year, but the work will be done in this year. And then probably next year, you'll start to hear about a lot of scientific breakthroughs around medicine, definitely like astronomy, planets, like a lot of research. But it's in the hermit year that that gets done. And it often doesn't become known until a little bit later. So that's also true in a global scale. The hermit, when we're talking about like countries, right, and international stuff, You and this is really trending. We see it, is an insularness of we don't want outsiders in. We don't want immigration. We're just trying to like hold our own fort. We're not really as concerned about the international stage as we are the domestic stage. So you'll start seeing that, and I think we are seeing a lot of that already, both in I mean, a lot of countries, U.S. obviously, but lots of European countries, a lot of countries that are really about coming and pulling together and really looking at the within and less emphasis on the without. Um, in terms of the hermit as well, in the US, there is a growing energy around what do we do with the homeless populations and or the unhoused populations, and how do we ensure more access to safe housing and care that also can be in a hermit year not exactly, like, fixed, but it gets to a fever pitch where it's like it demands now that it has to be looked at more seriously. We can't just keep getting on by. So that's some of it. Hermit years, when we're talking about economics, that's often more of a contraction than an expansion. So we've been running in a bit of a bull market for a while. This could indicate more of a slowdown, more of a bear market, kind of buy and hold market. Listen, I don't work for Wall Street, so like take that advice with the grain of salt. But that's usually the tendency of that energy, is that contraction coming within and doing a lot of inner work, not a lot of expansive energy. So that is the 9. So that is kind of the global energy for all of us. Now we're going to get into your individual birthday readings, and you're going to have to do a little math. So hopefully you have a pen or paper or calculator, or you're just really good. You could do it on your head. It's fine. It's easy, but sometimes hard to explain. So what you're going to do, and I'll show you guys. I kind of did mine ahead of time. So my birthday is June 15. Don't forget. No, I'm just kidding. So June 15, and then I add my month, my day, and this year, not the year that I was born. If I were to do the year that I was born, I would get a different number. And you could also do that because that gives you a sense of your life path number. But for today, we're looking at the energy of what does 2025 bring. And every tarot reader does this a little differently. I read these as the calendar year, touching upon the calendar year. Some people go from birth date to birth date. I really just look at it as a calendar year, and it seems to hold true. I've been doing these for a long time. And I also know that other readers will do the math differently, but this works for me. So, you can take it, or if you find something else that works. The point is not what is the most accurate approach. It's about, I'm going to try this approach, and does it hold true though? Is it right? And that the evidence of the approach is what we're really looking for. So, what you want to do, and for those of you that are in Europe or Asia where you don't do day, month, year, you may do month, what is it, day, month, year, or year, month, day. However you do it, it doesn't matter. Whatever the arrangement makes sense to you is how you want to do it. So, what you do is you break your month and day plus this year into single integers. So as you see, I've done like 6 plus 1 plus 5 plus 2, blah, 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 blah. And I add all of them together. And for me, this year, I'm in a 21 year. So you should get a number below 21. If you come to a number that is greater than 21, you want to add those two numbers. So let's just say that my birthday came to 25. What I would do was add 2 plus 5 to get 7. Does that make sense? So you're good to go until you hit 21, and then after 21, you want to break it apart and add those numbers together. Make sense? I think you guys are quiet. Maybe you're like doing the math. Yeah. Okay, great. So you should either have a single digit number or a double digit number, but it's 21 and below. Anything over 21, you're going to add those two together. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So this is really good to do, not just for this year, but also to like look at the last couple of years you've had, and then also what's coming up in the next couple years after, because then you can really do some long-term planning that should be really helpful. Um, okay, yeah, Christina, there's different methods. Um, I don't think one's right over the other. I just This is what I use, and it has always worked for me. But, if you got I don't know which method you used, but if it kinda still works, because 1 plus 3 for death is still 4, the emperor, so there's still some resonance there. Okay, yeah, so if you got 25, 7, yeah, 2 plus 3, it's 5, 19 is good, 19 is good. Um, Perfect. Alright, you guys got it. And for those of you that do have a double integer that's under 21, you do have a secret reading that's a little extra. So, alright, you guys got it. Sometimes I have the hardest time explaining it, and then people get really lost, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Math is not like my thing," you know? Awesome. So what you can do is, now that you have a number, you can really look back from like 2020 now and look at the numbers that you've had before, and then look at the numbers that come, and you're going to start to really see that there is definitely a pattern. Like, I do these mostly at the beginning of the year. If someone books a reading with me, I tend to do them more towards the beginning of the year, just to look at their energy. And it's not uncommon, like, for example, tower years, which is like a 16 year. Those are years where, really challenging things happen to people from all different quadrants of life. And it makes a lot of sense. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy how it works. Um, yeah. So if you're 13, it's 13. So, okay. Did anyone Let's see, I'm trying to see. So I got a 6. So did anyone get a 5? Someone got a 5, right? Did anyone get a 4? Yes, Christina got a 4. Anyone got a 3? If you have a 3 and you're live, let me know. If not, I'm gonna go to the person who's here and has the earliest, which was a 4. Okay, 4. Awesome. So if you're a 4, let me find it. That corresponds with the Emperor. And the way tarot numerology and the way I do it works out, often the 4 is often at the start. So if you did your tarot numerology for last year, it's very likely you had a 21 last year. So 21 is the latest number in our system. It is, the world, right? Like the ending of a big, huge chapter in your life. And that's typically true in tarot numerology too. And it's not uncommon then to restart on a 3 or 4. Yeah. So if you're starting on a 4, you usually see the 3 or 4. More typically, I have found it's a 4. And that's really great because the world energy is very expansive. It's a lot of new things coming in. I'll talk about the world more later. But after all of that, you kind of stick the landing on the 4. There's a couple places where other numbers do that. So a 4, so you see he's holding the world in his hand. And I see that as kind of emblematic of what has passed. I have it in hand and I'm ready for the new chapter. So, 4 energy, like the Emperor, is a very stable energy. Often, this is not an energy pattern that lends itself easily to, like, I'm going to just move to Sweden. I don't know. Like, I'm just going to see what it's all about. Not in an Emperor year, you're not, it's about sticking the landing. It's about like a very stable year with not a lot of swings in either direction. It's an excellent year when it comes to management of things. It's an excellent year when it comes to your health, actually. And it's also an excellent year for deepening relationships that have already been initiated, especially friendships that are mutually beneficial, like you're working on a project together, or even like a friendship that you've helped them out in some way, and there is a deepening of trust. In a 4 year, the emperor is about authority, and not like in a bad way, but like earned authority, that you are now in a place where you can provide leadership. So it's a good year for anything that's leadership oriented. So if you are in a management position of some type, or not starting a business, but like in the business for a while, it's typically like, all right, cool, like full steam ahead, feel things feel calm. And also your ability to bring that leadership to others in supporting others who may be in more chaotic years. So that is a lot of what the 4 can mean for someone in their 4 year. 4 years are excellent for planning, strategizing, not necessarily big implementations of it yet, but really looking at the larger landscape and thinking in a long-term kind of way about what am I building over time. So that's kind of 4 in a nutshell. Who has a 5? Anybody have a 5? I thought I saw a 5. So I'm going to quickly talk about 5, unless someone left or not left. So 5 is the Hierophant, which traditionally has meant the Pope. Okay, Lois has 5. Okay, great. Thank you. So the Hierophant, one of the things around the Hierophant is about it's leadership like the emperor, but we're adding another layer, which is also spiritual leadership. So the 4 is about stability. Well, the 5 has the 4 plus the crowning dot, which is the light of God, or helping others in their own relationship on their own spiritual journey. So for me, it's very powerful to be in a Hierophant year during a global hermit year. So that is like whatever you want to lean into or want to deepen in terms of your spiritual practice, especially if it is a spiritual practice of service or a spiritual practice where you're teaching something to others. This is like an excellent year to do that. It is a year that's also on the conservative side. A lot of people tend to get married in a 5 year, or like the family gets bigger in some way, or there is a graduation or the obtainment of some degree or certification. Those are all kind of what the 5 can embody, is about obtaining achievement, both externally in the real world, but also like anything that's like about paperwork, or like signing contract work, is often quite good in a 5 year. A 5 year asks of yourself, am I really in alignment with my spiritual truth? And how do I, if I'm not, if I'm being really honest with myself and I'm not, how do I get there in a way that makes sense to me? And that is a lot of the emphasis of 5. So that's a 5 for you, basically, in a nutshell. In terms of health, it's a neutral. So not all energies to me speak to all aspects of ourselves. Like in terms of like making money, it's more neutral. In terms of your health, it's neutral. It's not necessarily highly impacting these areas either way. But the emphasis is in leadership and spiritual and learning, and also like any contractual work, is the 5. Now, I know that we also have the 6. We had a couple people with a 6. The lovers, the lovers. So for me, the 6 can be lovers, like legitimately. I've got this little sweetheart honey pie and I'm doing great. It can be a year that if you're single, the energy is definitely dialed up towards meeting your person. So if you were like, I was dating and it hasn't been working and I took a little break, I would encourage you to get out of that break and start to kind of put yourself out there more, because the energy is very positive towards not just dating topically, but finding a deeper, intimate relationship. So that is definitely a 6 year. 6 years also ruled by Gemini, or like the lovers is ruled by Gemini, but it's about intimacy of all kinds. So while the Emperor and the Hierophant are about leadership in some ways, this is about bringing people closer in a non-leadership way, and I see you and I am seen in relationship. So this is working on intimacy of all kinds, family members, friends, you name it. And also about just not giving any weight towards that which isn't truly authentic and intimate. So that's a shift in that way. The lover's energy can also really give a lot of energy to passion projects, like that which you're passionate about, that which you love. It can be an energy around being of service around those passion projects. It's really of the heart. So it's not really, it's a neutral energy when it comes to like work or your career, unless those are things that are a passion project for you. It's really about following the truth of your heart and learning how to be better in relationship with others, and the highlight of being in relationship with others. So that's basically kind of the six in a nutshell, very quickly. Um, is that a snake wrapped around a tree? Yes, because the traditional lover's image is telling the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. And if you look at the Rider Waite, next to the man, I think it's like a burning bush. Next to the woman is the snake in the bush. So I think this is just a nod. And then traditionally you have, I believe it's, is it Michael or Gabriel? Sometimes I get my angels mixed up. Kind of overseeing this idea of divine love. But in earlier decks, I was like, oh my God, I could go into history forever, tarot. In earlier decks, it's three people that some people have said it's a man and two women, right? So, oh, that's got to be his wife and his lover, or his mom and his lover, or his bride. But what I've come to, I have a new theory around that, which is it's based off of the medieval Romance of the Rose, which is I need to find my rose. I need to find my love. And it depicts the moment in time where he wants a kiss from the rose. And his friend's like, no, 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 you don't do that. Like, that's not how we are, right? Like telling him, you can't, don't make a harlot of that woman. And then the goddess Venus comes down herself. And then she puts her hand on his shoulder. And she's like, I am literally giving you permission to kiss your love. So that is what I think is the true story of the lovers. And you kind of see the echoes of that in the angel, which is there's divine providence. There is the universe literally giving you like the double thumbs up in terms of like permission to love, loving in a romantic way. But I also see that loving of self and loving of other relationships and working on those relationships. If you are in a difficult relationship with a friend or family member, or even you've been low contact or no contact, however that's been, Lovers is a good card to try to reestablish contact, especially when there has been a desire for that person to really be able to hear your perspective. And so, any of these fraught relationships that you may feel is worth the chance to try to repair, you may typically be more successful to do so in a lover's year. So that's the other big piece on the lovers. Okay, now we're off to the chariot. I know, let me look and make sure we have the chariot. Anyone in a chariot? I don't know if I see one. Chariot, I'll just really briefly talk about it, especially since no one's here. Chariot is the kind of card like where you get up and go. So anything that is, oh hey, good, Mina. So 7, Chariot. Um, this is a card where you're really wanting to lean into your aspirations. If you do want to start something, if you want to level up in some way, like starting a business, a chariot year is great. Starting an educational program, a chariot, it's a real get up and go energy that's successful. Where if you've been having a hard time getting started, if you've been having resistance, if you've had writer's block, whatever it is, it's just been really difficult for you to kind of get over. The chariot is very much a friend to you. If you want to start a physical program, especially around like running or cardiovascular, anything where there's movement, and if you've been kind of like not really just like, oh, I don't want to, whatever it is, this is going to finally start to remove those resistance blocks or those excuses that you give yourself. We're like, I'll do it tomorrow. But this is really about empowering you to be like, nope, I really am motivated to do it today. So very, very nice. I would say to take advantage of a 7 year, you want to look at whatever in your life you've been resisting or has been difficult for you to do, like, oh, I just don't know, like I feel overwhelmed, and then you just shut down. Whatever the thing that has been the thing you've avoided, this is definitely a block remover for that in terms of your internal alignment. Also, chariot is really good for that when you're on that journey, that you're going to meet others who are like-minded and are going to be running with you, like your running partners. So partnerships of these kind of larger scope, like beginnings, are definitely well indicated for the chariot specifically. So okay, and I believe we have an 8, right? Oh yeah, we do see 8. Like Lee said 8. Cool. So you're an 8. That so here's my caveat. It may not make sense to you. If not, don't worry about it. But for those of you who do, some people follow the older ordering of tarot where 8 would have been justice. But rider weight 8 is strength. So whatever makes sense to you. So if your 8 is justice and you want to stick with that, that's fine. Just wait until I get to the justice portion. I'm following the rider weight Smith's ordering, just to clear that up if anyone has any confusion. All right, 8. So 8 as strength. To me, the strength card is strongly most positively indicated for any kind of physical health. So if there's been something you've been struggling with, this often is like the oomph to finally get on the other side of it. It is, but it's in general, your physical strength is highlighted in an 8. So if you have been meaning to start your physical journey, your athleticism, you're wanting to do some strength training, that kind of thing, endurance training, 8s are really going to be super, super positive. Also, if you've had maybe some health issue that you've been avoiding because you don't want to have surgery, like me and my back, things that you're just like, oh, I don't want to do that. 8 years often indicate that this is where strength is highlighted, the physical is highlighted. So it's actually a good time to do that because it often will indicate a quicker recovery, and also just a stronger recovery overall. Strength also is really the card of the body. So anything that, like, again, is, so it's just strength, but also the spirit, the mind body spirit connection. It's not as talked about as much as strength, but that is a key meaning of it. So not just strength training like I'm going to go run marathons, but also strength training in terms of what's a good example? I'm trying to think of a good example. Give me a second. Like anything embodied. So if you're like, maybe this is the year that I like look into somatic therapy or do something that I would consider is an embodied practice like yoga, something of that nature, where it's really kind of put together, this is an excellent year to do that. Or working on trauma, working on stuff, maybe like talk therapy hasn't worked for you. I would say in a strength year, you could get a lot done if it's like healing through the body in order to do so. Strength years, because of that embodiment factor, anything like tarot, like I'm always telling people, tarot is like, don't keep it all here. It's not in the head. It's like, it's in the body as well. It is an embodied practice where you're listening to your gut, you're listening to your body, and you're listening to your head all at the same time. So anything that allows you to do more of that is killer. Um, ah, the final thing I want to tell you about strength is it is a if you've been having a hard time with um, either like too much temperament, like you have a temper, or something like your emotional control has been challenging, this is a good year to work on that and get stability around it. But also, if you have found that you tend to run more analytical and sometimes you have a hard time expressing your feelings, this is a good year to kind of bring both of those like edges back into kind of a middle practice. So for me, it can do a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. Um, so we talked about 9, which is the hermit, in the global realm, but 9 in terms of an individual, the hermit, excellent year to start an education, excellent year to work on any kind of academic projects or scholastic projects, anything that just is making you very curious. Like, what are you curious about? Where do you want to dive deep? The hermit is so, so good for that. The hermit, yeah, not great for romantic relationships. I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't make it impossible. It just makes it more challenging. The energy is not beneficial to you or towards you. Um, the hermit is really about, like, let's say you've been dating a lot, hasn't been working out, and then you do actually need to take a break because you're starting to get in your head about it. Yes, take the break. Go on an abstinence journey. Just figure out what the heck is going on in here, in order to get all of this in alignment before you put yourself back out there. The hermit is very much um, Hmm. Allowing yourself to wander. Again, what are you curious about? What is like like just sparking you? And about those relationships that you do have, about really pulling it back to only those that are serving you and are in alignment with you. Um, so the 9 is the last single integer before we get into the rest of them. And in some ways, the 9 is kind of a mini chapter within the larger chapter, because the card that comes next is the 10 with the Wheel of Fortune. And this is a card of a lot of like change is happening. So it's almost like if you're in a 9 year this year, that usually means that next year you're going to be in a 10 year. So knowing that, you're going to go, okay, next year there's going to be some chaos like injected into my life, a lot of possible changes. So I need to kind of get right with myself to prepare, like get the inner done, because a lot of externality is going to be coming in. And the more that I can stay um, just really balanced through those things, the better I'm going to weather some of these other challenge areas or storm areas. So that's, thinking about like not just the year you're in, but like what are the years ahead that I can then think about and make sure that I'm preparing for ahead of time. We good? I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm talking really fast, but I hope it's working out for you guys. So we have a 10. Now, 10 is very interesting, because 10 is traditionally it is the only card that has a true goddess on it, which is fortune's wheel or fortuna. And so what we have here is basically the wheel for me is like your luck is about to shift. If you've had a run of really good luck, challenge is coming. If you had a really run of bad luck, it's going to get better. It's about nothing ever stays the same. So a 10-year is a challenge year. Lots of things shifting in a lot of different ways. But a 10 years also that you're kind of stuck on this wheel, but it's like a roulette wheel where there may not be a lot of forward movement, but it's kind of like you're spinning the wheel and you're getting really frustrated. So for people that are in 10 years, I'm like, expect a lot of like signal to noise or like noise to signal, a lot of noise and less signal. Um, but it's really indicative of whatever karmic lessons you have, because we're not in this life just to have an easy time of it. That's not in this world. That's the other world. This is the place where we learn lessons and karmic stuff. So this is like, all right, you've been kind of chilling. We're gonna like spin the wheel. And some of it may mean stuff that's been stuck. So anything in your life that you felt really stuck, like you can't get out of this relationship or this job that you've been in forever, like a 10-year can mean something really good happening that unsticks you, but also something that could be seen as bad in the moment, but then a blessing later. So if you've been in a job forever, right? Like, oh my God, I'm just not, I've been here for so long. I don't even know how to apply to a new job. I've been here for 15 years or whatever. This is like, oh, you're going to get probably, you could be maybe laid off or something that in the moment it's going to seem so scary, but it's the thing that finally unsticks you and there will be a blessing in disguise. So that's one of the ways. So the other thing too is now that we are at a 10, that is a 1 and a 0. So you can kind of then look at the secret cards below the 10 card. So a 1 and a 0 is the Magician. That's the 1. And then the 0 is the Fool. So this is the way I love to look at it. The 0 in tarot is the Fool, but the 0 means nothingness. It's a no thing, right? It is the unmanifested thing, the 0. Whereas the Magician as the 1 is manifesting, isn't it? I'm pulling this rabbit out of the hat, but the rabbit wasn't there before. Ha. So you have almost like a battery. So you have like the negative charge and the positive charge. And those of you who know anything about a battery, you like, us oldie folks who used to put batteries in things and not just like charge them, right? Back in the day, you would know that you have to make some batteries be positive and then flip the other battery negative, right? And it's the charge between the positive and negative that actually powers the thing to go. That is the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is literally being powered by the movement of unmanifest to manifest. And so that's where all of that kind of chaotic movement energy is coming. But it's definitely energy that will unstick you. Make sense? Are you still with me? The Wheel of Fortune is what is unmanifest within me that is desiring to be manifest. And all of this chaos of stuff that's happening in my life is trying to move in that direction to make it manifest. And that feels very difficult sometimes. And how you get there is sometimes really pleasant and wonderful, and sometimes is difficult. But that's really, to me, the underlying energy of 10. Oh, Melissa girl, we're heading that way. So we have 11. And where's my 11? Hello, where's my 11? I'm sorry, I'm looking for it. 11, I must have not pulled it out from the tarot deck that I was working with. So 11 is Justice. And Justice is a really, really good card for anything legal going on in your life. So if there's any legal issues or anything that you've been wanting to kind of go after somebody, it's about writing justice. So anything that's legal oriented or justice oriented is really going to work in your favor in a justice year. It's similar to the emperor in that it's stable. It's a very stable year. It tends to be. And the year that comes after that is the hanged man at 12. So there's a sense in justice that there's a preparation. So you had the wheel of fortune, right? And then you have 11 and it sticks the landing. Very similar to the 4. So whatever was uncovered or shifting or changing in a 10 year settles into a kind of a pattern where now after the storm of the 10, the hurricane, now we kind of go through and take inventory, see what's what, put our insurance stuff in and start to take account of our lives. It's very much an accounting for and accounting of, like what do I have, what's going on here, and how do I create power from that? And how do I live karmically in alignment? I don't know where I can't seem to talk and look in the cards at the same time. I don't know where my justice went. I'm going to have to look for her. So anything like that, anything that like what's due for you, like, so um, if you've had a promotion that's long overdue or a raise long overdue, anything that feels like overdue is owed you, justice year is a good time for you to advocate to, like, it is time. Also, relationships that seem unfair, if the other person seems to be calling all the shots in the relationship, like when you guys see each other, it's always kind of on them. This is the time where the accounting comes and you're like, I need something that is, I don't know where it is, fair and balanced. And the energy is very supportive for you to make that happen. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. So there's justice. I was right there all along. So yeah, with a 11 energy, it's 1 and 1. So magician and magician. So that's like manifest, right? Karma coming home to roost. But it can also mean, though, that if you've done someone else really wrong, they're going to come and want that accounting for you. It's like the end of the year where it's tax season and you're having to like count up everything and see who's owed what and what is owed to you. Um, Justice, anything that's risky, you don't want to do in a justice year. It's not an energy that's like, oh, take this huge risk. It's really about call home what needs to be called home to you. So that's kind of that energy. Then, where is my next one? Then we have, did anyone get a 12? Let me see. I don't see a 12, but I'll talk about it a little bit. It's the Hanged Man. For me, the Hanged Man is one of the most spiritually relevant and important of all the major arcana, though I don't know if it's popular for other readers, but it is for me because it's really speaking to the story of surrender. But it's also like if I've harmed anyone, it's going to come back for me, right? So it's again an accounting towards, but usually kind of in ways that we need to make atonement towards or pay for. And that's its original meaning was traitor. And in the old days when tarot was created, they used to hang political enemies upside down like this to say this is against nature. But we have now since kind of reformulated it as kind of like Odin, if any of you know the story of Odin and the world tree, that he hung on the world tree for 7 years to have the invention of runes to come to him, to spring forth. So in a hanged man year, it's like the opposite of the chariot. Like there's not a lot of brute force that you can bring to the table, but it's a time where less is more. And like the more you surrender to it, the more insights are just going to, and aha moments are going to hit you. So it is a year, is similar in some ways to Hermit, where it's like deepening um, your karmic lessons around surrendering, knowing when you can act or not act. And it's a 12. So does anyone know what the two cards, the 1 and 2, are in tarot? One is magician and 2 is the high priestess. So we still have that manifestation energy, but there's an emphasis on listening in order to manifest, because the high priestess is about receiving and perceiving. And so it's like, I'm waiting for instructions from the universe. And then when it's right, I'll know when to act. But there can be frustration in the hanged man because it's not in alignment with like what our ego might want, right? So it's like, oh my God, I've been looking for a job forever, or I've been waiting for this thing to happen, or why isn't my person coming for me? And the hangman's like, it may not happen this year. This year is about, how do I surrender to what is and allow myself to be led by universe a little more closely. And when we know that 12 is the energy before the 13th, which is death, and I'll talk about that in a minute, so don't panic. Don't panic. This is about like a preparation for what 13 brings. In the same way that the hermit is preparation for the wheel of fortune. So there's a lot of energy around, what do I need to release? What do I need to surrender to? What am I trying to over control that's obviously not working? How do I get better at doing that? That's a lot of a 12 year. So the serenity prayer, if any of you know it, like, grant me, what is it? The serenity, what is it? Like, like the things to know what I can change and do them, but what I can't, I got to let it go, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is the essential message of the hanged man. So you may find insights really coming to you out of nowhere, intuitions out of nowhere. It is a time where you will be gifted with the ability to see from a new perspective than you have before. It is a time of great empathy, and really a big leap in terms of your compassion work and your empathy work. So, like the hermit, it's a more of an internal year than an external year. And all of that is preparing for 13. So 13 is death card, obviously. And so death card can mean, I have seen it where it's not you dying, but if people have, I mean, they don't come back and make another appointment, right? Bad joke, I know. But mostly it's like people around you. So if you have an elderly friend, an elderly parent, or somebody, this is a year where you will encounter death in some way. And it's usually not your death, but in the place of like, what do I need to grieve because this is ending? So the hangman is like, I need to really let go and surrender to this process greater than myself, because the year after, it's going to turn up that volume and say, that which is not for me ends. Bad relationships end, bad friendships end, bad jobs end. That which is not for me, that I have been trying to force to happen, it becomes very clear that this is not for me to do. And in a lot of ways, death is kind of a transformational rebirth card, because you have the 1 and the 3. So, Magician, what is being manifest? And the Empress, what is being given born to? So, we see in the secret numbers behind it that it's a more nuanced picture of we this new things cannot be born. We cannot midwife these things into the world because there are things that are bad or not working sitting in its place. And from an ego perspective, we may want to like hold on as hard as we can to it because it's important to us in some way. But the death card is the card of releasing. Um, and often it's not always, it can be very abrupt. It's not a gentle card in that way. But in terms of releasing, it can be really, really good for you. So I want to, every card is good and bad. In my opinion, there's no all bad cards or all good cards. They all can be read in both ways. So someone in a death year, anything that you've been wanting to release and can't, finally, God gets goes. And also oddly, if you've been trying to lose weight, like it's excellent in a death year. Excellent. Because it's about releasing, letting go. So I'm like, this last 10 pounds has been on me forever. It's this year that finally it happens. Um, or any kind of inflammation, anything, water retention, anything you've been like holding on to can be released. So the death card is the card of releasing. Some of it tough, but not always tough. Sometimes really, really beneficial. But I would say if you are in a death year and there's anyone who you've been concerned about, um, build your relationship with them this year. Make sure you see them. I mean, I don't know, but if I was in a 13, that's what I would do. And be prepared to let go, which the death card is really coming for you. So, okay, 14. So after these like two kind of challenging years, right? You've had the hangman, I've had to like let go of things, and then I had to let go of more things. First, I let go of the things I didn't want, and then these are the things I thought I wanted, but the universe goes, oh no, we got to clean up, right? You have 2 years of like a double backed, like more challenging years. Then the year after that, you get temperance, which is the year of healing and regeneration. So in tarot, when you look at all of the major arcana, like challenging times are always then followed by very, very loving and like sweet and like good times. So tarot never leaves you hanging. Like it's always like challenge, gift. So death year, like buying a house, it would depend. It would depend. It's the death year is the emphasis is more on the releasing of a thing, not the gaining of a thing. So if you were to, I would not say don't make any major decisions based off of one card, because it's just it's like it's not a prediction reading, right? So it's not like, oh, you won't get the house. But tarot numerology is looking at the weather. You can still buy a house when it's sunny, and you can also buy a house in during a snowstorm. That's kind of that what I'm talking about. So it just makes some things harder or more challenging to do rather than completely saying it won't happen, if that makes sense. So if you are looking to buy a house, I would say listen to the signs. Listen to the signs. It could even mean, it even could mean like the death, a house becomes available because of a death. So somebody passed in the death or an inheritance. But if it's not those things, you can, but I would say really, really be careful. Like check everything. Really check it. Yeah, you're welcome. So after the 13, which is that challenge year, you then have 14, which is temperance. And this is kind of like the healing year after like the double challenge year. So temperance, anyone have a 14? This is also a year in preparation for the 2 years that are also going to be challenging after it. So this is a year of don't do anything crazy, like temperate, remain temperate, really kind of like the emperor. You want to kind of be real stable. Um, Anything that you've been struggling with that has not felt right kind of gets a heal up. Um, it is a time, temperance is about water and wine. And then the original word for to temper is an old French word where it means to cut wine with water because they would give that to children. I don't know, but so it's about that, like nothing swinging too hard in any direction. It's a great time for patching up, any relationships that really need that healing energy, any healing for yourself. It's often a very beautiful and peaceful and kind reprieve after the energy of the death, but also preparing you for the year that's going to come after. Any questions so far, friends? I know this has been longer than an hour, but it's like I don't know how to say less. Right? If one is downsizing from a large house to a smaller place, yeah, that's a really great point, Christina. It can, but also be careful though. Don't just assume like because it's not releasing then gaining, but be like, okay, this is part of the release, and let me just make sure I'm like triple checking my work here and making sure that everything looks really good. All right. So we have 15 as the next card. And this is typically can be a challenge year. Hold on. I'm going to show you guys something. So anyone have a 15 year? I don't know if I saw that. While I wait, so if anyone has 15, 16, 17, just go ahead and comment to make sure you're here. So I'll make sure to go into it deeply or not. And while you do that, I'm going to, sell my junk more. So next Friday, tarot workshop in Cary, North Carolina. If you are here in the area, come and play with us. We have a couple spots left. We're going to have a great time. No prior, like this is for all levels. If you are totally new to tarot, if you've played with it a little bit, if you are a pro, this is for you. This is for everyone. I have worked out an approach that nobody gets left behind. And then if you want to hang out with me for free, I am doing a talk at the Mebane Library on the 16th. If you have a book and you want me to sign it, please come bring it. Come say hi. Then I also have the Tabby Winter Conference where I'll be talking about the intersections of death and tarot. I'm so excited to do this talk. I've done so much work around it. And that is free if you become a member of Tabby, only about $22. All of this is on my link tree right there. And then finally, I am doing everything but the kitchen sink sessions, which is, oh my God, it's like 12 or 13 different things over 90 minutes, but it's following the 7 chakras of what each chakra is asking of you or going to provide for you in the upcoming year. Super fun. So if you're late to the game, this is how we do your tarot numerology. And we are at 15. So if you come in late and you have something below 15, you can catch the replay. And I've probably done it. Okay, no 15s. So I'm going to briefly talk about 15 and then move on. 15 years. So 1 in 5, that gets us the lovers. And if you have a tarot deck, you'll notice that the devil and the lovers are kind of like mirror images of one another. But instead of an angel, now you have the devil. And instead of people coming through their free will, they are shackled. And so a devil year is it can be a great year if you are wanting to explore, like if you're like, I'm going to maybe get into the poly thing, I don't like great. Like a devil year is all about like devil's play, like naughty play, or giving you permission to do something that you didn't think like it was like, oh, I don't know. Like, is it naughty? Am I allowed? The devil's like, yeah, sure, go for it. So anything that breaks you out of your conservatism, if you want to try something new that's a little naughty, the devil is it. Like the devil's all about it. Um, the devil is about like if you want to just live a little more freely and not care what anyone thinks, devil year is great. Go and dance on the top of the tables. That's a devil's year. And to take risks. The devil likes that. But the dark side of the devil card is really being challenged with any addiction-based vices. So that relationship that you know is bad for you and you can't quit, ugh, that is hard to go through with the devil year because this is a challenge year that is forcing you to look at your shadow and becomes very loud. The shadow becomes very loud. So it's like things that you may be disassociated from, things you were like, that's not really my problem. Yes, it is. And the devil is going to show you that. So it's a year to take care. So if I said the death card is good for losing weight, this is the card for gaining weight, like anything that's comforting, but could be vice related. If you have an addiction personality type, like that's like you have a tendency, you have to be careful in a devil year. So then after the devil, you have the tower, 16. So for those of you that are in a 17, Haley, Wanda, and I think there could have been some others. I do wonder if 2024 was a tough year for you, because the tower years, they can be very, very tough because it's often around. So I'll tell you the story. So like say the devil year, you're with somebody and you know they're bad for you, but you're obsessed. You like you can't quit them. Like you're just like, oh, right? Tower is gonna quit them for you. So the tower is the complete and utter like dismantlement of what hasn't served you, but in a difficult way, in a way that is going to be painful because your level of denial around it is so high. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So that's often a 16 year. 16 years when it comes to physical stuff, like anything that is back related, like take extra care, slips and falls, take extra care. This is not the year where you're like, I've decided that I want to be a unicycling juggler. That's going to be my hobby. I'm going to say, not in a tower year, girl, maybe in a 17 year. So those of you that are in a 17 in 2025, you may have found a lot of challenges in 2024. Often they can be very karmic in scope. Yeah, tough. They can be karmic in scope, but often it's about like whatever you were not taking care of, the universe goes, zap, I'm going to do this for you because obviously you're not doing it yourself. It is like, when you tell a kid, do you want to learn this the easy way or the hard way? This is the hard way. So, but like I have said, after the rain comes the sun, and 17 is the year that comes after, which is the star. This is hope springs eternal. It is the card of hope. It is the card where the universe is saying, I have never abandoned you. I have never left you. And now that you've kind of gotten through this tough time, let me show you. And so a star year is really, really good for our own self-care practice, our own ways of finding ourselves again. Like you see this woman, right? She's like pouring into the ocean, but she's also being poured into by an angel in this image. So there's a lot of enlightenment energy and like, oh my God, I see how this has all come together that comes to the star year. Star year, you're a star, like anything that's fame oriented or something that you want to get like a lot of people to notice you or notice the work, that's the star year. If you're like, I've had this terrible trauma and I'm going to write a memoir, star year is excellent year to do that. So, but it's a card where you are finally building that relationship with yourself that's long in coming. And it's also the card that in general, when the star card shows up, especially if someone's been going through it, I'm like, oh, yeah, like universe is close by you. You may not know that after what you've been through, but they're like watching, they're like close. So there's a sense of like watchfulness around you during this time, and also new opportunities kind of just popping up out of nowhere that make you feel like, okay, I'm licking my wounds. I'm kind of getting a sense of things, but I'm still here. And that is a lot of the energy of the star. Anything that is hope oriented, anything that you do that may have a risk is good to do in a star year because there is that sense of extra closeness to it. If you've battled a very serious illness and then you get to a star year, oh, that's great. It's great. It means like, oh, in remission typically, or I've got some wiggle room, or there's been an adjustment on timelines that that is beneficial to me. Um, so then after the star, you get to your final kind of major. Um, does anyone have the moon? 18, 19, 20, 21. Anyone here left? 18, 19, 20, 21. Go ahead and put it in the comments. The moon. So after the star year, you're like, okay, I'm still here. I made it. Like I'm okay. Okay. So then you go into the moon, which is like it's a year, it's like we're not yet like okay, you're okay, but you're still in this place of needing to make meaning of what has happened to you. And it's a process that takes time. So the moon card, so it's an 18, so 1 and 8 is what? The hermit. It's going within, right? It's another going within energy. Moon cards are not good. If you, again, you're trying to launch and start a business, it's not good for looking for work typically. It's not that these things are impossible. It's just the energy isn't boosting you in any way because the moon is about that which is hidden and changing. So, moon card is very good for women's health stuff. It's also good for your intuition if you've been wanting to work on strengthening your intuition. If you have had mediumship experiences, they often come up more strongly during a moon year. Very, very like loud dream life, a lot of synchronicities of things. It's also not a bad card for romance as well, but the emphasis is on romance rather than like my life partner person. The energy is on kind of enjoying that energy, that romantic energy, and things in the night, dreaming, romantic activities, inspiration at night, that kind of thing. So then we move to the sun. That's 19. So Samantha, you're 19. The sun is completely the opposite of the moon card. So if you are wanting to start a business, like it's just there's no well, it's like I said, there's no bad or good. There's not a lot of bad in sun. So the sun card is really great for if you do want to start a business, if you are looking to get another job or you're looking for work, because the sun energy is about adding charisma, getting a lot of charisma into your life and being seen, making a lot of friendships. This can be romantic, but the emphasis is on even if you weren't in romance with this person, you really like this person. This is like a best friend lover kind of energy. Very, very wonderful for your health in a sun year. The only thing that I really kind of see it being a negative is sometimes it can be too much sun, where you're like getting overwhelmed by like all these people and all these opportunities. And you're just like, I just need a break. I need to chill. I need to kind of go within. It's a very much an extroverted kind of energy. It's also if you're trying for children, the sun is very aligned to that, like conception. And if you're not trying for children and you can still conceive, be very careful in a sun year. I will tell you that. Um, so the sun year is like, finally, I've kind of gone through all of these really like, oh, the devil and death and tower, like, and then the moon. And it's like, finally, you're starting to see the correlation and the reaping of gifts as a result of going through these karmic processes. So then 20. Oh yeah, and so night so sun is, 1 and 9, which is Wheel of Fortune. So you saw how you had Wheel of Fortune in one area and then it started getting kind of chaotic. This is like the other secret Wheel of Fortune, but in a way that spins very positively typically. Then you have 20. This is Judgment. So 20 is the High Priestess and the Fool. So what am I receiving? But it's also unmanifested what I am receiving. And for tarot is very old, right? It's been around since like the early to mid 1400s. So some of the words that were traditionally used for the cards, their meanings have shifted over time. So when I say judgment, I think a word that's going to more closely associate with what this card really means is ascension. And to the medieval people, that's what's going on. These people are being raptured up to heaven. Gabriel is blowing his horn. Michael is close by. That after all that I've been through, all that I have learned, all that I have shifted, all that I've become aware of, how I've been in the world, I now have permission from spirit to ascend to the next plane of consciousness. You're welcome, Heather. So that is really kind of the meaning of it, of like, finally, like there's been major, really, really good shifts, more expansive shifts as a result of going through this. So judgment in a more mundane way. There is a resurrection aspect to it. So what is coming back to life for you? What is coming back online for you? What are things that troubled you that no longer do, or things that limited you? Those fall away. And you'll be surprised by the opportunities that come to you in a judgment year and how you respond to those opportunities. But if there are things that you still haven't dealt with, it is going to get its final like judgment. It's going to have you try to reprise it again. Really great year for health typically. Surgery is typical. It's also a year of celebration, and a year of catching your breath, but also you'll be getting signs from the universe about what that ascension may look like for you. And then finally, 21. So I'm in a 21 year. I'm at the end of this long scope. And so if you're in a 21 year like me, that is the World card. And so 2 plus 1 also is the high priestess and the magician. So we saw that before in the 12, but now the high priestess leads the charge. So high priestess and magician, which is, I have learned this skill of like intuiting and bringing in and then manifesting. So living more in accordance to this relationship with the universe is a lot of what the world can bring. It's often the end of a major chapter or cycle in your life. People in world years often can move, like they'll move cross country or move to another country or do a lot of traveling. There is a sense of expansiveness in a world year, of really like opening the walls of your life in a more in a deeper way, in a wider way, more people coming into your life. But you feel like you can dance with it, like she does. Like you're dancing with the energy of all of it. None of it should be overwhelming you or difficult. And the world card is often the card of like right before your rebirth. So then next year, if you're in a 21 year, you'll do your numbers again, and then you'll start on the next cycle. So this is the year of celebrating what you've gone through and honoring what you've gone through and making sure that you celebrate it and not just get to the next thing on your to-do list. This is a you got to smell the roses kind of energy and dance with the roses too. Very lovely year to be in, usually what 21 is. So that, in a nutshell, my friends, is the tarot numerology that I do for my clients, I do for myself, and I do with you. So I hope you found this helpful. Those of you that have stuck with me. So, like I said, check out my link tree. I've got a lot of things going on this month, as January typically does for tarot readers. And I would love you to come and play with me, and we'll have some fun. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I don't know if I told you guys. I've been telling everyone because it's so exciting. I've volunteering with a prison, the women's prison in Raleigh. So I'm going to be going in once a month and teaching them tarot in Lenormand. So I think I'll be doing some regular updates on that on YouTube, because it's just been such a fascinating experience. So I'll be doing some of this with them too when I see them. Um, but if any of you guys have tarot decks that you no longer use and you feel like you want to donate them, I'm figuring out the best pathway to do that because it's very particular. So hang on. If you are in the US domestic and you want to give a deck to someone in need, like stay in touch with me, because once I have gotten that system, which is more cloudy than it should be, sorted, we may be needing some decks. So if that feels aligned with you for this year, I'll let you know. Yes, Mina, that's a good point. So I think what Mina is saying is, so say you got an 11, right? And so I would say, oh, that's a double magician. You could alternatively just add those two cards, and then it's just the high priestess. But I love playing with the double digits and those relationships, kind of like holding up the main double digit that you have. Awesome. Yeah, I will definitely let people know how to do that once I have figured it out. I'm just like, keep it somewhere. So like if you got a deck somewhere, you're like, like let me know, and I will definitely make sure it goes to a good place. Um, all right, my friends, I wish you a very beautiful 2025, with all of the challenges and gifts that these numerologies will bring. If you want to know more, I still have my Everything But the Kitchen Sink readings up in my link through the end of February. I think January is already booking up pretty fast. So if that's something you've been on the fence about, get on in. I would love to have you. I love doing them, and I love doing them with you. And for those of you that are new, my name is Jenna Matlin. Hello, it's nice to see you. You can find out more about me here. I'm not on YouTube a ton. Um, I should probably be more regular with it. But hopefully I'll have something up soon. So until then, have a wonderful January. Have a wonderful rest of your year. And hopefully I will see you on something else tarot related soon. So take care and have a wonderful new year. Bye, guys.